Okay, good morning Year 4 and welcome to Wednesday's maths lesson. We are going to be building on what we have been learning about equivalent fractions over the last couple of days. So we've been really using our fraction rule and our number lines to get to know our equivalent fractions. So we're going to be moving on now to more calculation and figuring out without using the resources to help us as much. So I'm going to start sharing my screen with your do now activity to get started. So you're looking for the missing numbers for each question. Now you need to think about your times tables facts that you already know. So for example, in the first one, 320 divided by 4, I already know 32 divided by 4, which equals, hopefully you know, 8. And it was 320, not 32. So I know that my answer needs to be 10 times bigger. So my answer would be 8. So I'd like you to pause the video, have a go, and come back to mark it when you're ready. Off you go. Okay, so moving on, we are going to look at the answers. So for this one, it's something times 4 equals 200. So hopefully you know 5 times 4 is 20. So it's 50 times 4 is 200. 400 times 2, you might know your doubles really well, but if I didn't, I know 4 times 2 is 8, and it needs to be 100 times bigger, so my answer is 800. 140 divided by something is 2, that one is 70, because 7 times 2 is 14. 64 divided by 8, I know 8 times 8 is 64, so 80, because my answer is 10 times bigger. And then 8 times something, which is 9, is 72, so 90. So make sure you've marked those. Well done if you got them all correct. And let's move on to today's lesson. So today we're going to be looking at finding non-unit fractions of quantities. Now we'll recap unit and non-unit in a moment. Let's just quickly look again at our star words. So the same words we've been looking at, we have numerator, remember which is the top of my fraction, showing how many parts I'm referring to. The denominator is the bottom of my fraction, showing me the whole and how many parts there are in total. Whole, how many altogether. Equal parts, which means all parts are the same, and that's what my fraction needs to be broken up into. And then equivalent, which means they are the same size. Okay, so moving on to today. So non-unit fractions of quantities, remembering from our previous lesson, are ones that have a numerator that is greater than 1. Our unit fractions have a numerator of 1. So 1/3 is a unit fraction, 2/3 is a non-unit fraction. Unit, non-unit, unit, non-unit. Okay, so let's have a look at today. So we're going to be finding fractions of quantities. So we have done this in previous lessons, but we're going to be doing it with some different fractions. So 1/3 of 18 is the first thing that I'm looking for. So we're going to look at our steps to success. I've got 18 counters here to help me. So draw the number of groups in the denominator. So I'm looking at my denominator, I have 3. So I've drawn 3 groups, 3 circles. Now I'm going to share the objects equally between these groups. Now it's really important that I share them equally, so I'm going to do one at a time so I don't get confused. Because if it's not equal, then that's not going to give me the correct answer. Remember, fractions need to be equal parts. Okay, so I'm going to make sure they're all shared. Fabulous. Now I'm going to have to count how many are in each one just to check that I've done it equally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fabulous. So each one has 6. So I've done step 1. I've done step 2. Now I need to look at the numerator. So my numerator is 1. So I'm finding 1/3. 1 out of 3 groups. So 1 out of 3 groups. I'm going to look at this group here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1/3 of 18 is 6. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is 2/3 of 18. Okay. So I'm just going to rub this out so I can follow my steps again and I don't get confused. So I'm not going to put everything back where it started, the counters, because I can use what I've already done in step 1, finding 1/3 of 18 to help me. So now for 2/3 of 18, I just need 2 groups, but let's go through the steps to help us. So draw the number of groups in the denominator, so I had 3 groups. So I've already done that part. Then I needed to share the objects equally between the groups, which I've already done, okay, because I still had 18, which was the same as my first question, okay. Now I need to look at the numerator. So this time, this is the step that is different because I have 2. So I'm looking for 2 groups. So 1, 2 out of 3 groups. So I'm going to count how many total number of objects in the groups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 in total. So 2/3 of 18 is 12. Okay, right, let's have a look at another example. So I've got the same number of counters this time. I have 18, which is my whole here. But this time I'm breaking it up into 6. I'm looking at 1, 6 and 5, 6. So the first thing I need to do is draw the number of groups in the denominator, which I have already done. Let's just check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. Fantastic. So then I need to share the objects equally. So I'm doing exactly the same, but this time I have a different amount of groups to share with. I'm going to have to make sure I do that equally. Just bear with me. So I have 2 so far. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, all my objects are shared equally. So let's just double check that they are equal. Make sure I've not messed it up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. So they are equal because every single group has the same amount. Okay, the next thing I need to do is look at my numerator. So my numerator in my first one is 1. So I'm only looking for 1 group, and in 1 group there are how many? Yep, there are 3. So my answer is 3. 1/6 of 18 is equal to 3. Okay, so like we did on the last one, I don't need to do step 1 and 2 again because I've already shared 18 into 6 groups, okay? But the different thing that I'll be looking at is the numerator. So if I look at my numerator this time, I have 5. So I'm looking for how many are in 5 groups. So I need to count the total number of objects in 5 of the groups. So I'm just going to label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I don't get confused. Okay, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I've got 5 groups of 3. 5 times 3 equals 15. So I can do that in my head as well by doing a multiplication, but if you do need to count them all separately, that's absolutely fine. So hopefully you can start to see that 3 times 5 equals 15. So once I found 1 6, I was able to find 5 6 very easily. Hopefully you'd be able to tell me by looking at this diagram, what 2 6 is by counting 2 groups. 3, 6. So 2 6 would be 6, okay? So finding this 1 6 is very, very useful. Right, let's look at another example together. So we're going to find 1/5, 2/5, and 3/5 of 25. So I've got my 25 counters here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So if I pop back onto my question, I need to remember I'm looking at the denominator, which is 5, to know how many groups I need to share equally between. So I need 5 groups. So I'm going to try and draw 5 groups on my board. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, not quite the same size, but it's just the parts that are the important parts. So I'm going to start sharing my 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Luckily they're in colours, so I can see nice and clearly whether I've done it correctly. 1, 2, 3, 5, and finally, squeeze them in. Okay, now I had the colours, so it's pretty obvious if I've gone wrong somewhere, but I'm just going to check they're all equal because it's really important that I do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to get the correct answer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fab. They are all equal. Okay, so I found how many are in each group. Now, 1/5 of 25 was my first question, so I'm looking for one group. So in one group, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I know that my answer to question 1/5 of 25 is 5. So the next one that I'm looking for is 2/5 of 25. Now, as we talked about a moment ago, I don't need to go back and share the objects out again because I've got the same whole and I've got the same denominator, okay? So step 1 and 2 are already done for me. So if I go back, I'm just looking for 2 groups this time. So I'm going to do 1, 2. So in 2 groups, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 times 5 is 10. So I know that 2/5 of 25 is equal to 10. I think you can probably start to see the pattern now. So now I'm looking for 3 groups of 5. Now I want you to think in your head before I pop the visualizer back on with our counters. What do you think 3/5 of 25 is going to be? If 1 was 5, 2 is 10, 3 must be 5, 10, 15. 3 groups is 15, okay? So 3/5 of 25 is 15. So we can probably start to see a pattern now. Let's see if it works. I'm going to do 4/5 of 25. So I've spotted a pattern, 5, 10, 15, because it's my 5s on the bottom and my 5 times table. So probably 4/5 of 25, my next multiple is 20. So let's just check if it works. I'm going to go back. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 4 groups had 20. So my pattern worked. It is following that pattern. Fantastic. So hopefully that will help us. Now, your little test you are going to do first, if you can write this down, that'd be fantastic. You're going to find 1/4 of 24 and then 3/4 of 24, 1/6 of 24 and 5/6 of 24, and so on. So once you have found the first unit fraction of the amount, you should really easily be able to find the next one. Now, if you need to use some objects in the house to help you, or you want to draw down your counters and share them out, or draw your groups, that is absolutely fine. Please do that on your paper to help you, or use something that you can move around. So go away, use the steps of success to help you if you've forgotten, and then you can come back and we'll go through the answers together. Off you go. Okay, so hopefully you've managed to have a go at those. Let's look at the answers and see how you did. So your answers are on the screen. We should have got 6 and 18 for our quarters and 3/4. For 1/6 and 5/6, we should have got 4 and then 20. For 1/8 and 7/8, we had 3 and 21. And then for a 12th and 11/12 was 2 and 22. So fantastic, well done if you've got all of those correct. If you're still finding it a bit tricky, maybe you can stop and go back a little bit and have a look at those examples again. But we're going to look a little bit more how we can do that now just by calculating our answer without counters. Okay, so number 1, we have 5/6 of 12. So it's slightly different steps to success this time because we're not going to be using the groups to help us. We're just going to be calculating it with the groups in mind. So the first thing I need to do is divide the whole number by the denominator. Now my whole number is 12 and my denominator is 6. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the visualizer on and we're going to have a go at this. I can show you how to write it out. So my whole number is 12. My denominator is 6. So my first calculation is 12 divided by 6. I'm going to write this out to make it nice and clear. 12 divided by 6 equals, I know 6 goes into 12 2 times. 6, 12. So that is step 1. Now, that's not my answer. We haven't quite finished that, so let's have a look at step 2. So step 2 is to multiply the answer from step 1 by the numerator. Multiply the answer by the numerator. So my answer was 2 and my numerator is 5. So my calculation is going to be 2 times 5. So 2 times 5, I know, equals 10. Okay, so my answer must be 10. So 5/6 of 12 equals 10. So let's just have a look why, again, using our counters to help us before we go on and do this on our own. So I'm just going to rip it out to make it nice and clear. The first thing that I did was divide the whole number by the denominator. So 12, I have 12 counters here divided into 6 groups. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've used the lines to separate them. So 12 divided by 6 was 2. So you can see there are 2 counters in each group of 6. Okay. Now number 2 was to multiply the answer, which was 2, by 5. Okay. So 5 groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was 10. And as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 counters. So 10 counters are green. So that is the same as saying 10 out of 12 counters is the same as 5 out of 6 counters. So this is what we started to look at in our previous lessons. So 5/6 is equivalent to 10/12. So I can now start to see my equivalent fractions a little bit more. Let's look at another example. So 3/4 of 24 is my next one. So step 1, we're going to divide the whole number by the numerator. So I'm going to do 24 divided by 4. 24 divided by 4. So I want you to think about your 4 times tables. How many 4s are in 24? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Fantastic. So there are 6. So that is step 1. So hopefully we can remember step 2, but let's just pop it back up. So now we need to multiply the answer from step 1 by the numerator. So I'm going to be doing 6 times 3, which is my numerator. So 6 times 3. I know my 6 times table, so I'm going to count in 6s. You can count in 3s. 6, 12, 18. Okay, hopefully you got the same as me. 18. So 18 is my answer because I've completed both of my steps. 3/4 of 24 equals 18. Now, before we do a couple more examples and go off to our independent task, let's just see that again with our groups and our equivalent fraction. So divide the whole number by the denominator. 24 divided by 4 is 6. I had 24 counters and I've put them into 4 groups. We've got 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, and 4 groups. And then if I do one of those groups, it is 6. Okay, so 24 divided by 4 is 6. There are 6 counters in each group. So it's just like when I did the circles at the beginning, I would have 6 in each group. Okay, and then I'm finding 3 of those groups. So 1, 2, and 3. So 3 of my groups. So I've got 6, 12, 18, or I can count them separately if you're not sure how to count in your 6s. So in total there were 18. So 3/4 overall out of the counters, I had 18 out of 24 counters were blue. So therefore I know 3/4 is equal to or equivalent to 18 out of 24. Okay, so let's look at a couple more examples before you go off and do your individual independent work. So I'm going to do 5/7 of 42 this time. Let's have a look. So step 1, divide the whole number by the denominator. So 42 divided by 7. So I'm dividing 42 by 7. Now I'm going to do this in my head this time. So I know 42 divided by 7 equals 6. So I'm going to keep the answer 6 in my head. And then I need to multiply it by the numerator. So 42 divided by 7 equals 6. And 6 times 5 equals 30. Well done if you managed to do that along with me in your head. So I know that 30 over 42 is equal to 5/7. Okay, let's try one more. So following the steps with me, so divide the whole number by the denominator. So what calculation am I going to be doing? Hopefully you've said 36 divided by 3. It's a little bit tricky this time, so let's write this one down. So 36 divided by 3. So I know there are 10 3s in 30, and there are 2 3s in 6. So my answer is 12. We should know our 3 times tables pretty well by now. And step 2, I need to multiply the answer from step 1, so 12 by the numerator, which is, hopefully you're saying 2. So 12 times 2 is my next calculation for step 2. 12 times 2. Who can tell me what 12 times 2 is? Hopefully you are shouting at the screen. It is 24. Fantastic. So 2/3 is equal to 24 over 36. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at a word problem now, so we can think about how we're going to apply this to our independent task. So you can see a word problem on the screen. It says Miss Jones has a box of 25 chocolates. Lucky me. She eats 3/5 of them. So we want to know how many chocolates does she eat and how many are left in the box after she's finished scoffing them all. Okay, so let's have a look at this together on our visualizer. Okay, so Miss Jones had a box of 25 chocolates, so that's going to be some important information there. And she eats 3/5. She eats 3/5. So I know she's eaten 3/5 out of 25. 3/5 of 25. Okay. So I'm going to go with question A first, because that's first, and then we'll think about some different ways we might be able to work out the second part of the question. So how many does she eat? 3/5 of 25, what we're trying to work out. So hopefully you've remembered the steps. If you haven't, let's just have a quick look, see if you can remember them in your head. So we're dividing the whole number by the denominator and multiplying by the numerator. Okay, so 25 divided by 5 is my first step. 25 divided by 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it goes 5 times. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So remember, I'm not done there. I then need to multiply my answer by the numerator. So 3 times 5, because I need 3 lots of 5, 3 groups of 5. So 3 times 5 equals 15. So Miss Jones ate 15 chocolates. Goodness me. I'm very greedy. I'm going to be sick. 15 chocolates. Fantastic. So I've done part A. Now I need to find out how many are left. So there's a few ways that I can do this. So I'm going to show you a few different ways in case you want to choose when you're doing your calculations. So I know that we started with 25 chocolates in the box. Because I've already working out how many I've eaten, I could say that 25, take away the 15 that I've eaten, because I've taken away them out of the box, is going to leave me with how many are left in the box, because I've eaten them and taken them away. So I could do 25 minus 15. 5 take away 5 is 0. 2 take away 1 is 1. So there must be 10 chocolates left in the box. Okay, but I'm just going to show you a couple of other ways we could have done that. Because if I didn't have the first part, it might be a little bit trickier. So there are 25 chocolates in total. I ate 2/5 of them. Okay. So let's have a look at that in parts. So I've got 5 parts in total. Now I'm going to do this a little bit dodgy here because I haven't got a ruler. So I'm just going to draw as best I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully that's nice and straight, and you're using a ruler when you do this. I haven't got one at the moment. I'm going to draw 5 parts. Okay. So I know from the question that Miss Jones, me, ate 3/5 of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know 3 of those fifths have been eaten. Three-fifths have been eaten. So as you can see clearly from my bar model, there are 2 parts left over that have not been eaten. Okay, so 2/5 have not been eaten. So 2/5 left in the box. So hopefully that's starting to become a bit clear. So there are a couple of ways I could now work out how many are left. I know there's 2/5 left. So I could find 2/5 of 25. Okay, so 25 divided by 5 equals 5, and 5 times 2 equals 10. So that must be correct because I got the same answer as I did here. Okay, there are 10 left in the box. But let's just have a look at how we can break it down in our bar model as well. So let's think about how we find 1/5, our unit fraction, to help us with our bar model. So 1/5 of 25 is equal to one of these boxes here. So 25 divided by 5, my 5 parts divided by the denominator, 25 divided by 5 is 5. So 1/5 of 25 is 5. So I'm going to label each part of my bar model. Okay, so this is my whole box of chocolates. I've got 25 in total. 3/5 are eaten and 2/5 are not. So you can see where I've labeled how many are left in the box. I have 5, 10. So again, I have 10 for my answer, and I've shown it in 3 different ways. So well done if you managed to work that one out. So I'm going to pop 10 are left up here. Fantastic. Okay, this looks like I've written 1.5 now, my pen's leaked. So there were 15 that she ate, 10 left in the box to make 25 in total. So I would love to see different ways that you've represented that when you do your work on Seesaw later. Okay, so for your independent task today, we are back to the banded sheet. Now that we're a bit more clearer of how to understand fractions with our physical resources. So starting off by working out the fractions, then finding the equivalent. If you want to do band 3, there's some more challenging times tables in there, and similarly with your word problems. So do make sure you read them carefully. If you're doing a question for your reasoning where you need to explain, make sure you're doing that, and I've given you some words to help you start off your sentences there. So really thinking about how you can make that clear. When you've done, make sure you check your answers. The answers are in the home learning, so have a look at that first before you post to Seesaw. Check your answers and see if there's anything that you need to edit. Come back to the video and have a look again if you need to. Really impressive all the work you're doing so far. Fractions is not easy, so make sure you're doing your best at home. Really impressive how well you're doing so far. So have a great rest of your day, everyone. Do your best with your maths, make sure you check it and post to Seesaw, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.